I don't know if you could have guessed or not, but I'm a real big fan of guitars. So today, I'm going to talk about some albums by some of my favorite guitar players. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to Northern Revolutions. I'm Rob. Welcome back if you're returning. Welcome if you're new. As mentioned off the top, we're talking guitar players today and some of my favorite guitar players and albums that they've put out. In case you're wondering, this is my baby. This is my absolute favorite guitar. This is my 1978 Fender Telecaster. It's my absolute pride and joy. No, I'm not going to play it because here's the thing. I don't want this to go viral on YouTube. I have no desire to be a world famous guitar player. I don't need that. I'm happy with my 9-to-5 job, so we're going to keep my stellar guitar skills under the radar. But we're going to talk records. I could have pulled countless records today. This is by no means going to be an exhaustive list of my favorite guitar players or my favorite albums by great guitar players. There's hundreds of those. But I've just sort of picked a handful at random, sort of the names that immediately popped into my head when I thought of who are some of my favorite guitar players. And I'm going to save my guitar hero until last. One of the first guitar players that comes to my mind when I think of great guitar players is this guy. Actually, I'll do it this way. Is this guy, Lindsey Buckingham. I guess the guitar player most people associate with Fleetwood Mac, although Fleetwood Mac has had several guitar players, and you could argue that, Peter Green was better. Different blues guitar, pop rock guitar. Different beast altogether. Love Peter Green too, don't get me wrong. But I wanted to talk about Lindsey Buckingham today. This is her 2003 album, Say You Will. It's the Rumors lineup minus Christine. I've seen Lindsey Buckingham 3 times. I've seen him twice with Fleetwood Mac. I've seen him once solo. Incredible. Great songwriter, but just such a unique guitar player. He has a really distinctive style. If you've ever watched him play, he plays a lot different than most folks. He sort of has this combination of playing lead and rhythm at the same time. He's strumming chords while finger picking at the same time. It's very interesting. Watch his picking hand when you see him play. It's very distinct. The other thing that always intrigued me about Lindsey Buckingham, he plays a guitar that you don't see anywhere else. It's called a Rick Turner Model 1. Rick Turner was a guitar builder, and during the recording of Rumors, he became a friend of Lindsey's through John McVie, their bass player, and ultimately ended up building a guitar for Lindsey because Lindsey was playing Les Pauls primarily. But he was blowing out his amps, just wasn't getting the sound that he wanted. And so Rick Turner kind of came up with some ideas based on, kind of what Lindsey was looking for, and ultimately built this guitar, the Model 1, and Lindsey has played it ever since. It's his primary guitar. It's kind of a unique looking thing, and it has a unique sound. I love a lot of the Fleetwood Mac. I mean, I love everything Fleetwood Mac, but, I do like that Rumors era lineup. Fascinating to watch him play. Like his solo stuff too. Just, I like him because he plays different than everybody else. Speaking of folks with custom guitars, that segues pretty nicely into one of the greatest guitar players, I think, from Queen, Brian May. Brian, what a fascinating guy. His guitar, the story behind it, and this isn't going to be about guitars, everybody, so don't worry about that, but it's just an interesting anecdote. He built it himself, him and his dad, in 63, finished it in 64. He couldn't afford a Gibson or a Fender or a Hofner, so they built one out of a piece of wood from a fireplace and a piece of wood from a table. And it's called the Red Special, and now it's actually produced and you can buy it, but he literally built it himself with his dad, which is kind of cool. I just love Brian May and his big guitar parts. They have to be for songs like Bohemian Rhapsody, but he also can do this sort of the understated stuff too. He's got so many signature riffs that are just instantly recognizable. As soon as you hear that riff, like, yeah, that's Brian May, or that's That's a Queen song. Have never seen him perform live. I would like to. I would absolutely go to pay to see Queen with Adam Lambert. Sure, it's not Freddie, but he does a pretty damn good job in my mind. He's not trying to beat Freddie. So yeah, I would love to see Brian May play guitar live someday. Shift gears slightly to a guitar player you probably haven't heard of before, unless you're a regular viewer of my channel. This guy by the name of Luke Doucet. And I've said I think he's the best guitar player in Canada. Luke has been making music for 25 years-ish. Started off in a sort of punk band called Veal based in Vancouver. He's been Sarah McLachlan's guitar player for 20 years. He had a solo career, and now he's half of a duo called Whitehorse with his wife, Melissa McClelland. This is his last solo album, which came out in 2010, called Luke Doucet and the White Falcon, Steel City Trawler. It's about life in Hamilton, Ontario, not too far from where I live. Luke is a really distinctive guitar player. He plays a Gretsch White Falcon, hence the name of the album. That is his signature guitar. He plays it on everything he plays. He plays it with Sarah McLachlan. He plays it with Whitehorse. He plays it on his solo albums. He has other guitars too, but 90% of the time he's playing a Gretsch White Falcon. And just the tone that he gets out of it and the way he plays it, it is instantly recognizable as Luke. He can play all different genres. I mean, like with Whitehorse, they have a blues album. They have a country album. You know, they have a psychedelic album and so on. And even through all those genres, it's still Luke and his White Falcon. And you know it's him, even if he's playing country, even if he's playing blues, it still sounds like Luke Doucet. I'll leave some links in the description in case you want to check him out. And all these other artists too. Wickedly talented guy. I've seen Luke in concert more times than I can count. This is a guitar player that plays in a band that you either love or you hate. I love them. You too. So of course I'm talking about this gentleman over here, Mr. Dave Evans, also known as The Edge. I love The Edge. I don't know that he ever gets a lot of recognition as being a great guitar player, but I think he is great because he plays guitar differently than most. You know, I've heard him say in interviews, you know, he thinks of playing guitar, you know, that you've got to use notes sparingly. And that's what he does. He has this way. Now, his guitar pedal board is massive, and he uses all kinds of effects and delays and loopers and all this kind of stuff to achieve the sound that he makes. But he's not sitting there on a song playing a rhythm part where it's, you know, chord after chord after chord after chord. Literally, he strings together as few notes as possible and layers them with effects and whatever to build that sort of that U2 sound. It doesn't sound like someone strumming a guitar. It just doesn't. It's got more of a, ambient isn't the right word, but it's more of a kind of a spacey feel, if you will. But, you know, if you listen to something like Where the Streets Have No Name, it's a handful of notes just repeated. And the sound that he builds with so few notes, and it's so interesting because there is only one guitar player in U2. So he's it. So there is no rhythm guitar player to back up him playing lead. I mean, he does it all. It's a very unique way of playing guitar. While there's a lot of U2 albums that I love and a few that I'm not a fan of, the one constant through all of it is I love how The Edge plays guitar. I'm showing this record. This is How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, which came out in 2004. This is an original first pressing. Quite hard to find. It's been reissued several times. The Anniversary Deluxe just came out, I think, this week or next week. I'd love to buy it, but it's like $400. But there's a sort of companion album called How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb that comes out on Record Store Day. I will be on the hunt for that because I must own it. I mean, I don't know that you can have a discussion about guitar players without talking about Eric Clapton. Man's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 3 times, for what that's worth. Some folks say absolutely nothing. The man has had a storied career. John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, the Yardbirds, Cream, Blind Faith, his solo career, Delaney and Bonnie. I mean, the man's done a ton of stuff. Derek and the Dominoes. I mean, there are a lot of guitar players who will say he's great. There are a lot of guitar players who will say he's not great because his playing hasn't evolved over the last 50 years. Yes, I play guitar. Far be it for me to comment on whether he is great or not. I could only aspire to have 1/100th of his talent. So I think he's put out a lot of great stuff, and I think he's put out some shit too. You know, he was one of the guys that inspired me to want to learn to play guitar. I mean, he's the majority of his career a Fender Stratocaster guy, and the first real guitar I ever bought was a Fender Stratocaster. This one, as a matter of fact, I have customized the living daylights out of it since I bought it in 1999. My dad was a big Clapton fan, so I grew up hearing a lot of Clapton records, and I still have all of my dad's Clapton records. This is not one of them. This is one I picked up myself. But, you know, Delaney and Bonnie on tour with Eric Clapton, that's my dad's favorite album. John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, which I showed in a video a week or two ago. That got played a lot at my house. One of the first CDs my dad ever gave me. Clapton's Unplugged, I think, was one of the first albums I ever bought. So I have listened to this guy a ton in my lifetime. I don't know why I haven't talked about him a lot on my channel, but I really enjoy his playing. You know, I love his love of the blues. A lot of great albums. So for me, if it wasn't for this guy, I don't want to say I wouldn't become a guitar player because I'm not a guitar player. I'm just a guy that plays guitar for fun. I would have not acquired the hobby of playing guitar, and I would not have taught myself that skill, which is kind of crazy to think. I mean, I don't have a musical bone in my body, but I'm self-taught, so go figure. So Eric Clapton, one of my favorite guitar players. This is Journeyman from 1989. Running on Faith is on here. Before You Accuse Me is on here. I think those were on his Unplugged as well, but good album. One more local act before I get to my guitar hero. And this is, we'll call this a twofer. This is the Sadies, and this is their album, New Seasons, from 2007. The Sadies are a rock band, country rock band, psychedelic country rock band from Toronto. It's fronted by two brothers, Dallas Good and Travis Good, both guitar players, and I love both of them. They are phenomenal. Like I said, the Sadies kind of have this like cosmic cowboy kind of sound, but don't let that mislead you. That's what a Sadies record sounds like. But they have done blues records, they've done roots records, they've done rock records with other people. They had a great rock record with The Unintended. They did an album with John Langford. There's many of them. Andre Williams. They were Nico Case's backing band for quite some time. These guys can play anything and play it incredibly well. I've had the pleasure to see them numerous times. I've met them many times. Just technically good guitar players that can play anything and just entertaining. They typically play like Gretsch semi-hollow bodies. You know, they can play great rock and roll like a chicken pick. Like they're astounding. Regrettably, Dallas Good, one of the two brothers, passed away unexpectedly about 2 years ago now. So it's just the other brother fronting the band. Amazingly talented guitar players and a very distinctive sound. Any guesses who my guitar hero is? I have mentioned him before, obviously. Mr. Joe Walsh. There's the crazy man himself right there. Who doesn't like Joe Walsh? I mean, I saw a meme on the internet the other day. I don't trust anyone that doesn't like Joe Walsh. Even if you hate the Eagles, you love Joe Walsh. Of course. Joe Walsh is like your crazy drunk uncle. He's an absolute lunatic madman, but apparently he's got a heart of gold. I love Joe Walsh. What do I love about Joe Walsh? I love that he's not serious. I love that he, you know, is very lighthearted. I mean, you listen to a song like Life's Been Good to Me. it's awesome in its absurdity, right? Um, I love that he has a distinct sound. He has this kind of, I call it a sloppy sound, right? Like it's not, it's a lot of bends and slides, and it's just when you hear it, it's Joe Walsh. You just know it's him. I love everything he did with the Eagles. I love everything that he did with James Gang. I love his solo stuff. I have thankfully had the privilege to see him play. Out of all the folks that I've shown, the only two tonight that I haven't seen, I've not seen Eric Clapton and I've not seen Brian May. But I've seen Joe Walsh, and watching him play for me was almost a religious experience because I've been listening to this guy since I was, 15, and just how he gets that sound. I can't do it. It just blows my mind. But I love that he writes these crazy songs and sounds the way that he sounds. So if I had to pick a favorite Joe Walsh song, probably Funk 49, which he did with James Gang. This is his live album, and Walk Away is on here. That's a great song. So is Rocky Mountain Way. Yeah. When you hear it, you know it's him. I guess that's the mark of a good guitar player, right? There you go, folks. There's a handful of albums by a handful of my absolute favorite guitar players. Let me know in the comments, who are your guitar heroes? What are some albums by them that you think are incredible? Drop it in the comment. I'm always looking to hear about new guitar players or guitar players that I'm not familiar with their body of work. So let me know. That's everything for me today, everybody. Catch you on the flip side. Bye.